Hello and welcome to the next video in our Spanish verb tenses series, and today we're going to be talking about imperfect verbs. So in case you didn't see the video on the pretérito or the perfect tense, we're going to talk a little bit about what is an aspect first. So in a nutshell, an aspect is a part of the verb that describes how it was completed. At least in Spanish, that's how it works. So let's take a look at this. On a timeline here where the O or the 0 represents now and the dotted line represents time, we can see that the perfect represents something that happened once and was finished, right? So if you swam today, it's done. You can point to it and say this is when it occurred, like I swam at noon. If you have imperfect, it's not so clear-cut what is occurring here. So I chose to represent this with brackets, and this is indicative of the fact that the imperfect can be used to describe spans of time. For example, I used to swim every day at 5. So in English, let's take a look at this again. I swam versus I used to swim every day. The imperfect, when you see it in English, is often used with the verb use, as in I used to swim every day. But you can also think of it as the setting of a place. So like it was a dark and stormy night that is imperfect. There's another example. I ate lunch versus I used to eat Chinese food every Tuesday. We could even get rid of the used to here and say I ate Chinese food every Tuesday, and it would still be understood to be imperfect. We don't conjugate our verbs for this in English like we do in Spanish, but I think you can get the gist of what the difference between the perfect and the imperfect is based upon these examples. So let's take a look at it. Unlike a lot of the other verb tenses we've seen so far, we are going to see a little bit of a difference between the AR verbs and the ER-IR verbs. So here we just add in ba and our appropriate endings for the or ab, depending on which way you look at it, and our appropriate endings for the person. So hablaba, hablabas, hablava, hablábamos, hablabais, hablaban. Next we have comer, and you'll notice that unlike the AR verbs, the B is not there. We have rather this accented vowel, the accented E, plus our endings, right? So comía, comías, comía, comíamos, comíais, comían. In the past, there used to be a B there, so you used to say comiba. However, this fell out of use. I think sometime during the 16th century. I'm not quite sure. However, it did fall out of use, and because of this, we now have a true contrast between the AR verbs and the ER-IR verbs. Now, like a lot of the other tenses, the ER and IR verbs are actually going to follow the same kind of pattern. So, vivía, vivías, vivía, vivíamos, vivíais, vivían. This is actually one of the easiest tenses to learn in Spanish. I think it's one of the easiest because it's very regular. You just add the difference. And you basically get what you need, right? So in the case of the AR verbs, the ab or ba, however you're looking at it, the accented E before the endings here. A notable exception being for the first person, right? So it's not comío, but comía. And same thing with hablaba. It's not hablavo, but hablaba. Aside from that, just stick on your regular endings after adding the imperfect into the middle of it. So when to use the imperfect? So when you're setting the scene, so like I mentioned, it was a dark and stormy night. Llovía fuertemente en una noche oscura, right? So it's not like it rained once. Like the rain is something that, kind of continues. It goes on for a bit. And it's not very clear always when it starts. I don't think it's ever clear when it starts and when it ends. Recurring actions in the past. Nadaba todos los días, right? So if you swam every day, that would be a recurring action, something that used to occur regularly. And finally, descriptions. So if a person is in the past acts like an angel, you can say parecía como un ángel. They were like an angel. They seemed to be an angel. Muchas gracias y hasta el siguiente video.